Hey guys, welcome to our final tutorial on our Netbeans Getting Started series, and today I'll show you how to package our application into a fully functional installer and setup, and how we can distribute this to companies, people, friends, whoever it might be. But first, before we carry on, I told you in our second tutorial that we will be changing this coffee cup in our JFrame, and also in the bottom in our start menu we can see it's a coffee cup. Now we're just going to switch to our source code, and this is our source code obviously, and where it says public.gui and it says init components, we want to go one line under that and add this line of code. Now it automatically imported image icon for me, but what it's doing is it's setting an icon image to this JFrame, which is what this is for. Now you can see we have a string here. Now this is where we specify what image we want to use. Now if you followed our previous tutorial, you would have seen that my partner created a button in the shape of a heart. I thought this would be a good icon because it's pretty small and I think it should fit quite well. But you can download a 52 by 52 icon image off Google or create your own in Photoshop and import it into our project, and all we have to do is specify the full name of it. So I mean, if this was a JPEG, you'd put JPEG at the end of it. But now if we compile and build and then run our project, you can see we have a little icon on the top left hand side, and also in our start menu we also have this icon, which looks pretty professional. But I'm going to close this for now. Now we want to download a program called Executable. All you have to do is type this in, and I'll provide the link in the description. Click on the first link, and on the right hand side we want to click on download now, and it's only available for Windows and Linux. So if you have a Mac, you might have to get Java Virtual Machine or something. Not Java Virtual Machine, Windows Virtual Machine, sorry. But I got the Windows, so I would download the Windows, install it with the basic setup, don't change any settings or anything like that, and you should find it'll work perfectly okay. Now that we have everything done, you want to navigate. You can actually close Netbeans at this point. You want to navigate to your My Documents folder, and over here we'll see that we have a folder called Netbeans Project. So we want to double click on that, and all of our Netbeans projects get stored in here, obviously. And Valentine's project is what we're working on now, so double click on that. Now there's a few folders. We aren't going to mess around with these, so don't try editing them or anything. But there's a folder called dist, and this stands for distribution. So we want to double click on that, and we have a .jar file. Now if you've played Minecraft, you know exactly what this is. This is basically what runs our program. So we can double click on this, and this is our program. So even if we type in the incorrect thing, give us a message. If we type the correct thing, give us a correct message. And just remember the location of this folder right here. If you specified a different location, you might have to locate that on your own, but I'm going to be using the default one. So we've downloaded Excelsior Jet. Now we want to open up Jet control panel, so just click on that once, and we're going to go for plain Java SE applications working directory. Now this is the first step. We have to click these three dots here, and we have to navigate to our Netbeans projects folder, and don't open it or double click it, just click on it once and then click on select, and it should pop up there. Now step 2 asks us for a class path, main class, and Java properties, and we can use a command line. You type out cmd prompt or whatever it might be, but I'm going to be using a manual setting, so you want to click on enable manual setting right here. You can see the first icon's paper with the plus. Click on that, and it should automatically take us into our project's distribution folder. But if it does not, obviously double click on Netbeans projects, our project name, which is Valentine's project, and then dist, and then select the jar like we did earlier. Select it, and two things should pop up: absolute layout and our .jar file. Now we want to click on application main class, three dots on the right hand side, and it should automatically pop up with a list of options. Now in our case we only have one, so that's the correct one. Click on next at the bottom right hand side. Now we want to click on run to make sure that everything's working. So you just want to type in your code, make sure everything works fine, when we start working with more higher end projects, you want to make sure that you test out everything as well as possible to avoid any errors when you distribute your file. Click on next. Okay, now we have optimization presets: typical, smart, and custom. The typical one provides fast compilation time, most performance, but download size and disk footprint reduction. It will not be optimized for that. Smart, I think, is the exact opposite. Maximum size, yeah. So we want to go with smart to make the smallest possible setup that we can. And click on next. Now we can skip all of these. Okay, now we want to change our executable name. This is what will be seen by the user. So Valentine's gift. And we can add the version info. I put my company name as Vertex Digital Arts because that's our YouTube channel. Product version 1.302. Just because it sounds cool, and legal copyright, that's, once again, to make it look cool. Click on OK. And we can also choose a trial. You may have seen some of the programs like Adobe Photoshop. If you download the trial, will expire in 30 days. You can also do the same with this, which is also pretty cool. But we're going to go for full version. Click next. You can also set up an icon for your project, which is recommended, but I don't have a .ico file, so I'm not going to select any of that. And we're going to also hide the console window, because if we don't hide the console window, it'll actually pop up while our program's running, and we don't want that to happen. So click on next. We're going to click on this big button called build, save our project, and I'm just going to save it on my desktop. It'll create a whole bunch of files and folders, but we can delete that later. Okay, so that took about 2 minutes to build and compile, and as soon as it's done, it automatically opens up our project for us. I'm not going to test this. I know it works, so close that, and there we go. We want to choose on package. This will create our actual setup for us. It'll open up a new folder. You can see we have a bunch of files and stuff here, file choosers. Now this is a basic application. We do not have to import anything yet, so just click on next, next. Okay, now disk footprint, we want high reduction. So this, once again, will take a long time to compile and build, but it'll save on file size. So click on next. Now you can see it says trial run configurations. Now this is once again to test if your application works perfectly okay. And you can see it's red at the moment, so as soon as we click run, creates some more folders. You can test out your program again. I know it works, and it changes to green. Now we're going to click on next. Excelsior installer setup by this backend is what we want to select. So on the top right hand side, the first option, we're going to tick this. Now this is just a basic setup. I don't know when you need to use any of the other two, but this is the most used one. I think it's the most convenient for people who don't understand how to use files and folders, computers in general. Click on next. Now here's our software, our version 1.3. I thought it would look cooler than that, but I guess not. So now we can select our installation directory. We can install this in an absolute path where I don't think this is very recommended. Don't use absolute path. Instead, use the program files, the default one in the C drive, or you can use the system drive, which is directly in the C drive, which will put it right here in this folder right here. If you go with the other one, program files, it'll install it in program files x86, and you'll see our program in here. Absolute path, you can put it in a D drive, but not everyone has a D drive, so I'm going to go with default program files. Okay, so at the bottom here we have settings where we can change the look of our installation setup, installer appearance, change the language to English or auto detect. You can put it German, whatever you want. I'm just going to go with English. There's license agreements, so if we browse we can locate a text file that you might have typed, and if you go with something like a Windows license agreement, it probably would have taken you about 4 years to type, so good luck with that. Splash screen, you can also include a splash screen, PMP files. Now for some reason my one never ever works, so I'm actually going to try it out now. Okay, I'm just going to select that. I tried to choose one, it might work, might not. We got other stuff here, run program, extra facilities. You can fiddle around with that. Click on next and create. Okay, everything is done. I'm just going to close this log window. So the nice thing about Excelsior Jet is that you can create updatable files. So this was version 1.3. If we want to make version 1.3.1.125.3, we can actually do that and then email it to whoever, or even post it on our website, and they can download the new setup. It'll automatically update the old one to the new version, and it works out really well. So I have all these folders. You can actually delete these now, but obviously keep the setup. And you can see I didn't change the icon, so it's just the basic one. And if you go to properties, our file size is 10.4 megabytes. Now that's pretty big considering the Netbeans project was probably under a meg. That's the downfall of Excelsior Jet. You do get really big file sizes. It's typically 20 megabytes. I haven't had a project that went over 20 megabytes before. So you can play around with the settings, but I'll actually put this setup up for download in a Dropbox file. I'm just going to rename this. Put a capital S because of my OCD. Okay, and that's our setup. Now double click it, and we can just click next, next. Default file, default folder I should say. Again, it's done. It took like 5 seconds. So we can start our application and test it out. Incorrect, and there we go. All works perfectly fine. You can see it even made a folder, Vertex Digital Arts, our YouTube name, and there's our thing in there. Now if you create more projects with the same name, it'll add up into here. We can see Vertex Digital Arts in a subfolder. We have our Valentine's Day gift, and then the more projects we add under the same name, it'll just continuously create more subfolders. Now if you go into my computer, open up local disk C, program files x86, and scroll down, and there you can see our folder among Windows, Defender, and Renaissance Electronics. You can see we can even run it from here, and everything works fine. You can also create a desktop shortcut if you want, but that's the application. Everything works from the first tutorial. You can see how we learned to do a little bit of coding, adding a nice background, custom text field, buttons, all sorts of different things. And in the future tutorials we'll be teaching how to use menu bars and different items that we saw in our swing controls panel. And we might also be creating a Fahrenheit to Celsius and Celsius to Fahrenheit converter with different GUI techniques. And I hope you enjoyed this series of basic Netbeans tutorials, and as always, thanks for watching.